And Dr. Tim McKnight is in this morning. Welcome in. Always good to have you.
Good morning. Thanks for inviting me.
Well, he can come next week too.
Okay, good.
And you wanted to talk about hormones and health this morning. We hear about hormones. I'm not sure we even know exactly what they are, and so what are they, and how do they affect our health?
Well, first of all, I'm going to say, as in most other weeks, I come in thinking about what I've seen in the office or what somebody's asked me to talk about. And this is kind of a vent session for me because yesterday I saw a lot of people that I was trying to convince them that they should optimize their hormones, and I wasn't very successful. And so I felt pretty discouraged because I know these hormones can help people. So to answer your question, hormones are the steroid hormones, which is the ones I'm going to talk about. They're built on cholesterol, the cholesterol molecule. So we start with cholesterol. Your liver has to make it if you don't eat it. And those hormones really make us, it's the difference between the men and women. It's the way women feel versus the way men feel and act. And so, but we want these hormones to be optimized. We want to, if we can maintain the hormone levels we had in our late teens, early 20s for as long as we can, our fitness level, our libido, our energy, our brain, everything works better. So we feel better. And just as importantly is our health is good. Mm-hmm. So when we start to lose these hormones, we start to slowly lose our health. We lose our energy. We start gaining weight around the belly. And then we start thinking, well, this is what it feels like to be 40 or 50 or 60. And then we have our PSAs going up, and women are having abnormal periods and heavy bleeding, and they're worried about breast cancer. And men are having a decline in their libido or having erection problems or just don't feel the same in the gym, don't want to go to the gym anymore. See, these are just subtle changes that happen, and people assume this is part of the aging process. And in a way it is, but in a way it's not, because the problem that we have with hormones is they're not functioning in our bodies like they would have 100 to 200 years ago because we have introduced so many new chemicals, and we call them hormone disruptors or endocrine disruptors that interfere with the way these hormones work. So, we eat foods that have pesticides on them. We use cosmetic products with parabens and other things that interfere with this. We breathe things. We consume things. And so we're exposed to all these things, fertilizers, all kinds of things that impair our natural ability to use these hormones at the cell level to make us feel good. And that's why it can be so subtle. And some people are aware of this, and they're like, a man will think, well, I've got low T, because they'll notice how they feel. Mm-hmm. Women typically don't realize what's happening because all they know is the doctor said they're going to have a hysterectomy for their fibroid tumors and abnormal bleeding, or they start coming in their late 40s, early 50s, and they say, I can't lose this weight. I'm gaining weight, and everything that I used to do to lose the weight is not working. I'm eating well, and I'm exercising like I normally do, but I've gained 20 pounds in the last 2 years, and I don't know why. Yeah. And so they're depressed, and they're discouraged. And they, after trying a couple of years, they just figure, I'm going to give up. But these are all hormone related. So I hope that answers the question. I don't know how long you want to talk about that particular one, but it's huge. Yeah. And I just feel terrible when people go through this. Another hormone that's not a steroid hormone that's really important, a lot of people struggle with, is thyroid hormone. Thyroid hormone is basically 2 amino acids. It's a tyrosine amino acid. You stick them together and you put 4 iodine molecules on it, and that's what your thyroid gland makes. But people don't understand that the more important thyroid, the more powerful thyroid hormone, doesn't have 4 iodine. Your liver has an enzyme that takes off one of those iodine. That's T3. And when your cells see T3, that is the one that makes them just pop. It gives you energy. It increases your metabolic rate. It helps your brain function better. And when you don't have that, women will have abnormal periods. And women particularly will notice that they're losing more hair than normal. Their skin's dry. Their nails are brittle. They're tired. Maybe their hands and feet are more cold. So those are the kind of things that happen with women, and they'll recognize that. But when they have somebody check it, thinking, well, I looked this up online, it looks like my thyroid's low. Mm. Unfortunately, most providers don't check the free T3, which is low. They check the TSH and free T4. And those can be normal. I've seen people in the hospital. I work in the hospital about 4 days a month, and I check people's levels, and I'll see other people that'll check their TSH and T4, and they're fine, and they stop. Well, I just had somebody recently whose free T3 was about 1/3 what it should be, and she was having cognitive problems. So I'm like, geez, we got to address this. So we start giving her thyroid, and her cognition improves. So these are just so common and so easily overlooked. And unfortunately, most providers aren't trained in this. I always tell people we practice medicine based on how we were taught by our mentoring physicians that we follow in the office or in the hospital. Mm-hmm. And they're good. They're smart people, and they're committed to their craft and their profession. But they're doing what somebody else has taught them. And as far as hormone replacement and optimization, there's not too many people that really understand this literature. And so we have a lot of providers that are completely unaware of these simple things that make people feel good and optimize their health. So it's a shame that we're not able to help people more, because we've talked about this before. Alzheimer's dementia. This is type 3 diabetes. Alzheimer's dementia can be prevented early in our 40s and 50s, when we start to see those declines in estrogen in women, and when they start having these early menopausal symptoms and weight gain. That's the time to say, okay, let's optimize your thyroid. Let's get your estrogen up so that you don't gain this weight, and let's protect your brain health by having estrogen. Men have the same problem. Men usually don't need estrogen. Sometimes they do, but if they have good, healthy testosterone levels, like in their 30s and 20s, they'll make estrogen. And that estrogen protects their prostate, it protects their blood vessels, it protects their brain. So how do we prevent Alzheimer's dementia in men? We optimize their thyroid, we optimize their testosterone, and if we need to, we give them a little bit of estrogen. And this is not just something that I've heard here and there. This is a lot of research that's gone into this, a lot of studies that confirm this. I was at a conference 2 weeks ago, 20-hour conference, and after all the data was presented on all these topics, over and over again, study after study after study. I'm not talking 3 or 4, I'm talking 30, 40, maybe 100 studies in each of these topics. Wow. The question was, what is the best drug to prevent diabetes? What's the best drug to prevent cancers? The best drug to reverse heart disease? The best drug to help with obesity? The best drug to help curb or stop or improve dementia? The best drug to lower blood pressure? There's a drug to do that, but it's not pharmaceutical. It's what your body makes. And the answer, after all these talks and all these studies, was the drug is optimize your thyroid, optimize your testosterone, optimize your estrogen. And the studies bear this out. So this is crazy. And so the reason I'm venting is I'm trying to convince people.
Well, that's what I wonder. Where's the resistance, or why?
Well, here's the resistance. Number one, people are afraid of hormones because they've been told they cause cancer, they cause heart disease and stroke. And there are some synthetic ones that do that. But when I give you the same estrogen, say if you had prostate cancer, and I gave you the same estrogen you've made in small quantities, it will shrink the prostate cancer. It will be healthy for you. I don't give you testosterone with active prostate cancer because it will grow. But after it's treated, and we've knocked out your testosterone to drop that, to arrest that cancer, and that cancer is gone, the only way you're going to feel good again is giving you testosterone. And the way we help you to protect yourself is optimize your estrogen, maybe give you more. So there's a lot of resistance because everybody's afraid of this. And these are studies that came out 20 years ago that people did not understand the results. Now that we understand the results, no, the synthetic hormones that are not matched chemically to what you make, those are a problem. But what God gave you, they're there to keep you healthy. We've just interrupted that because of our exposures to these things in our environment. And so we're feeling the consequences. The biggest conflict or the challenge that I see in the office is that people, to get these hormones and to optimize, it might cost you $150, $200 a month. And that's, for a lot of people, that's a big deal. But my point is, wow, wouldn't you like to see your diabetes go back to normal? Wouldn't you like to see your risk of heart disease and that plaque that you've got on that last heart cath start to reverse itself, and your risk of breast cancer and colon cancer? Wouldn't you like to see that? Let's optimize these hormones. But most of these people are already on other medications. So now we're adding more, and that budget becomes overwhelming to sustain. But the point is, if we reverse these other conditions, we'll take you off your cholesterol medicine, take you off your blood pressure medicine, take you off your diabetic medicine. You're saving money, and now what we're doing is preventive care. We're optimizing your health. Not only do your risk of these diseases reduce, but your energy level and your hope and your, everything about your life just gets better because you feel so much better. So this is, it's so hard for me when I know this and I can't convince people, hey, let's optimize this, because they don't really believe it a lot of times,
Yeah.
And when, now I do have patients that they start to see the changes and they love it. And I've had them tell me, if I can stand these hormones the rest of my life, even if somebody told me I had breast cancer and I was going to die early, I would stay on these hormones. Now, these hormones do not cause breast cancer. In fact, progesterone is the hormone that you make during pregnancy. Hundreds of studies say that it finds breast cancer cells and it kills them. So, and estrogen does the same. But people hear estrogen receptor positive breast cancer and think, oh, estrogen's going to make this flare up. It's misunderstood. It's not understanding the data and what these hormones do for us. So it's just critical that people use safe hormones, that they're optimized. I look at this as a supercharged supplement. Yes, they're prescriptions, but they're not foreign chemicals. They're there to help you lose the belly fat. They're there to improve your health, your bones. We can reverse osteoporosis with hormones. We don't have any other drug that reverses osteoporosis. Right. We have drugs that prevent the osteoporosis from progressing. So if we're lucky, we arrest the bone loss at that level and it doesn't get any worse. That's pathetic. When we're treating someone with dementia, the best we can do is slow down the process early on. But wouldn't you like to prevent that?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, oh my gosh, we prevent that by optimizing these things early. And this is not just a few studies. There's multiple studies that confirm all of these things. So it gets a little confusing. It's a lot of information to retain. It's a lot of information to ferret out because the research is mixed with bioidentical hormones that your body makes and synthetic hormones. And sometimes if you don't read the paper close, you're thinking, oh, this sounds bad about hormones. It's because they're using synthetic hormones or they're not using optimal doses of bioidentical hormones. So I'm so grateful for Dr. Neil Rouzier, who trains doctors in this and convinces us with research. Here's the data. This is when you do, when you don't. But for the most part, when we optimize, everything gets better. So here I am at 63 in a month. I'm bench pressing more than I ever have in my life. I attribute that to hormones and my desire to be in the gym because my testosterone level is like I was when I was younger. And so it's really helped me. The biggest challenge for a lot of us is stress, sleep deprivation, all kinds of stress. But these hormones they'll be depleted when you have stress. Cortisol is a steroid hormone that takes priority under stress. But we have to manage the stress and then understand that when we have stress, usually we need more of these hormones. Yeah. So it's an exciting topic, but it's a hard topic to get people to understand. Their health they're just inches away from phenomenal health and wellness. And I think this applies to anyone at any age. My dad is going to be 97. There's no way he's going to stop his testosterone. No way I'm going to take him off his thyroid. And, I'm looking at maybe giving him some estrogen to help his mental clarity and his blood flow and his mind. I mean, this is just, it's so exciting, but it's so frustrating for me when I can't get people to buy into it.
You've been convinced by your mentor. You've convinced me.
Actually, I have been. You're right.
So I hope that you can convince others. At this point.
Yes, yeah, I hope so. You have to be patient. Sometimes if you don't get doses right, you either feel you don't notice the changes you want, or sometimes we give somebody a dose that's a little bit too high. Now they have some breast tenderness or bloating or something else, but that's feedback. And the challenge with this is we're giving you these hormones either with creams or dissolvable tablets in your mouth or pills that you swallow, and it's not the natural route because the body makes it. The adrenal glands make a little bit. Your gonads, your ovaries and testicles are the ones that really make these. So we're bypassing this. And so now it goes through the liver, and the liver gets a crack at metabolizing this. And so we have to figure out how your body handles that until we get this just right. And that's another challenge. But if we listen to what you're telling us every time you come in, usually we can tell what we need to do. But people have to manage their stress. They can't be eating junk. We have to get rid of this belly fat. Once we get rid of the belly fat, sometimes the hormones does it, but there's some responsibility on each person's part to do that, because that is the other part of the equation that we can't always fix like we would like to with hormones.
Yeah. All right. Hormones and health. Hey, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
That's Dr. Tim McKnight. Our talk with the doc today.